All right. You want to do your little slappy?
Welcome everybody to another edition of Two's Company, Three's a Podcast, DTCR Does the Cinema.
G'day, beautiful bastards!
My name is Dylan, and as always with my co-host
Mitchell. And as Dylan said, it is time for Tuesday 3 Pod DTCR, which stands for
Does the Cinema.
Now, along with that comes some catchy theme music, so whack it that button. No, just whack it.
Oh, well, I only want to push one button.
Oh, okay. So, whack it!
Driving.
Coming from a fresh, coming from afar. It's Tuesday 3 Pod DTC. Oh, that's right, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
We are all over the place this week because it is time for Tuesday 3 Pod DTCR Does the Cinema.
That's right.
Now, on our podcast, we have a segment each and every week called Yas or Paws, which is where we preview the films coming to theaters that weekend and we decide what movie we're going to see for this very segment.
That's correct.
Now, we had a little bit of... The reason we are all over the place, it's so conjubbled at the moment.
Conjubbled, absolutely.
Is because last week's options were trash.
That's
Absolute trash.
That's
so
right.
what did we do?
So this week, I discovered, as you know, before recording this episode this evening, that we both definitely did see two different movies this week.
Yes.
I went to see something with my wife. It was my wife's decision.
Yes.
I wouldn't have been on my own accord.
I don't know, man.
And then you went to, I guess, see whatever you could with your kids.
With the kidlets,
Yep.
Absolutely, that's right. So our options this week, as you can tell from the title and the thumbnail, of course,
Yep.
I got the privilege of seeing with my children Cats and Dogs 3, Paws Unite.
That's right. And I got the surprise privilege of actually watching one that was rather enjoyable and very surprising to me after we collided.
Now, one of these movies has a lot of sex.
Yes. You can leave your comments below as to which one you think it is.
Exactly. Take your pick.
It's definitely Cats and Dogs, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, 100%, man. Non-stop humping. Should have been neutered. But anyway, speaking of neutering, let's neuter the fuck out of this film and hope nobody else gets to see it, because the I'd say the conclusion to the Cats and Dogs trilogy ended on a very sour note.
Oh,
okay? No, exactly. As expected, if you've seen the trailer or even just the fucking poster, it's very underwhelming for what it is. Now, Cats and Dogs, the first one,
is an absolutely revolutionary. You know that movie has multiple endings?
Exactly. Yeah. It's a banger of a film.
Yes,
an absolute banger of a film. This one, very, very low budget.
Yes.
Very, very straight to DVD film. But because of the current climate that we live in, we got it in the cinema. And I paid upwards of $80 for everything from my kids, for the food, for the tickets and that. And all I got out of it was a slight little snooze before my daughter said, "No sleeping."
On your Willow.
Exactly. Yeah. So, it's not a good time.
Yeah.
And whenever you sit in the theater and the first thing you see is, I believe it was Warner Brothers Home Pictures, I was like, I'm paying to watch a DVD right now.
Yeah, and you could have bought the DVD and it would have cost you less than a regular ticket.
Oh, no, exactly, 100%. But at the same time, in my head, I'm like, $20 for that piece of crap? What a waste of money. $80 later, I got through it. But anyway, basically it says Paws Unite. Okay, straight off the bat, I'm just going to give you a brief, very brief rundown. So basically, they talk about the history of cats and dogs hating each other. But then, about 10 or 15 years ago, they decided we need to stop this squabbling to make sure that we maintain our position as man's best friend, the number one pet to have in the house. So they formed a group, and I can't remember the anagram, but basically it spelled fart.
Yeah.
It was like feline animals. I don't know what it stood for, but yeah. And that from the get-go, fart being a joke, was terrible. And it just follows a cat and a dog that live in the same building, and they have this huge underground tunnel system that leads to their base where they spy on and keep the peace, essentially. Yeah. And there's an evil parrot.
Yeah, so when I watched the trailer last week, it seems like the antagonist of the film was a cockatoo who hadn't been adopted, and that was the whole reason for his
He basically
issues?
finds a way, with the help of a Komodo dragon, they find a way to increase the pheromones basically in the air that make cats and dogs hate each other, so people go, oh, we don't want cats and dogs, we want obscure pets.
Oh, okay.
That's the whole premise of the film.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
And
well, if you're a cockatoo looking to be adopted, just don't be a cunt of a cockatoo and bite and scream and yell.
Yeah.
And do some funny tricks and sing along to songs and dance, do that funny dance thing they do, and you'll most likely be adopted. Problem solved.
And not only that, keep it the fuck away from my movie theater, okay?
Yeah.
Terrible. -3 out of 10. I could not stand this film.
Okay.
I snoozed.
Yeah.
I snoozed.
Yeah. Well,
it's awful.
after all of that,
It's awful.
did your kids laugh at all? Did they enjoy it?
Willow got a bit bored.
Okay.
Willow was bored, but Oliver's into those types of movies where it's like live action. He's grown out of the animation part.
Yeah.
He likes the live action. He gets it more and stuff. He was glued to it.
So he loved Cats and Dogs 1.
Oh, no, exactly. That's right.
Yeah.
I'll have to get him to watch that, and I'll talk about on the podcast this week an old movie that I got him to watch and he loved. But anyway, end of the day, avoid this at all costs. Terrible, terrible, terrible.
Cool. All right. Well, speaking of terrible things, that's not what I witnessed this weekend. I got to see After We Collided, which is the sequel to After. It's almost a direct sequel, like in terms of the events taking place directly after the events of the first film.
Yeah. So end credits, open.
Pretty much. Yeah. So the story essentially starts and tells the growing of a young woman named Tessa Young, played by Josephine Langford. Yep. She's fresh out of university, essentially, or she might still be there. I'm not really sure. Anyway, she finds herself with a very successful paid internship, and she becomes friends with bosses and whatever else. And she's growing, but the previous love interest from the first film is down in the dumps. He's going through hard times. They had a pretty rough breakup because he lied, whatever, blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
Throughout the course of the film, they tend to sort of rekindle their love.
Okay.
And throughout the film, you know, it's got that typical love story where, he's no good, he fucks up, he's a bit of a nutcase, but she sees through it, and there's this, this imbalance between like their personalities essentially, but in the end everything sort of works out and it's all hunky-dory. But what I liked most about this film, yes, there is a lot of sex in it, and it's kind of weird watching it's weird watching these people who are supposed to be 19 like having sex so much. It's kind of weird, but at the same time I was like, okay, she's hot, I'm into it, and I'm sure my wife is into the dude, I don't know, anyway. So it's all good. But he's talking about being a pushing 30-year-old guy, and you're like, oh, teenagers. Yeah, it's weird. I'm just like, ugh. But at the same time...
I was just going to say, it's the same as when we used to drive around in our like very early 20s, late teen years, and we'd see a green pea plater and be like, oh, have a squeeze like that. Now I see a green pea plater and I'm like, oh god, that's a baby.
So it was a little bit weird like that. But if you can look past that, yes, there are a lot of sex scenes in this film. But the story is told really well. I think the cinematography and the acting was as good as it could have been, and the jokes, man. This movie actually had me laughing. There were some weird moments where I'm like, that's bullshit, and I was kind of like the loud dickhead in the cinema. I was like, However, like I had a good time. Taylor had a good time. The movie as a whole is enjoyable, and if you can look past some of the cringy love stuff, which was done really well. It's an enjoyable film and a good dramatic romance with a sprinkling of comedy. And that same weekend, I went home and I sat down with my wife and I watched After the first one.
Yeah, the first. Yep.
Just as good. And now I can piece together. There was enough information in the sequel to piece together the events of the first one. Which was good. So I wasn't going into it completely blind.
Okay, nice.
The film actually told enough of what happens in the first one.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're into those kind of movies, it's almost like 50 Shades of Grey, but if it was good.
There you go. Exactly. That's a glowing review for this type of film. Absolutely.
Fair enough. This isn't made for us. We're not young, pubescent teenage women. However, as a film, it's a great film. And I honestly recommend, if you've got the time, go watch them both and enjoy them for what they are.
Well, I'm very disappointed that I had to sit through what I had to sit through. We can't do a joint review.
I know. I kind of, after I saw it, I was like, damn, I wish I kind of like said, dude, see this movie. You know, but anyway, that's been our review of Cats and Dogs 3, Paws Unite, and After We Collided. Let us know what your thoughts are down below, and make sure you click the links to our podcast as well. We've got brand new podcast episode coming out every Thursday from now on, it's a whopping big episode. You can certainly find all of our social media links down there as well, and hit that like button.
Absolutely, and that podcast is available on every goddamn platform you can think of, and if you can support the show by going over there, liking, following, subscribing, doing whatever you can, leaving a review, it would be greatly appreciated. But cliche slogan, of course, Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and of course, YouTube. Big Summer Blowout.
Thank you for listening to this. Thank you for watching us. Thank you for subscribing, because I know you have. My name is Dylan, and as always, with my co-host,
Mitchell. And do not forget, we are Two's Company, and you are the podcast.